Why has RV travel become so important over the last several years? Some of the answers may surprise you. On today's episode, we have Melodie and Kurt from RV Plus 3. Kurt, why did you decide to travel by RV?
Well, I spent about 4 years watching YouTubers do it before I was able to convince her to get into it.
4 years it took. Okay.
Yeah, I was watching, she had her own business, and I was the stay-at-home dad. So I was sitting around with an infant and toddler watching all these guys travel all over and have all these adventures, and I'm like, that looks like fun.
Okay, well, we are going to get into that today. On today's episode, my guests are going to cover RVing. So whether that is full-time like they are, whether you're thinking about doing it part-time, you're a weekender, or you're just thinking about it, or those people that are really curious about RVing, we're also going to talk about why travel is so important for us. Incredible places and experiences you have had, as well as some RV travel tips like planning. Now that's a full-on episode, so we're going to have to try and get as much as possible into this. For those of you who don't know, I am Patty Hunt, and I traveled 3.5 years. I started 4 years ago, full-time in my RV. I've done some international travel. I am right now off the road and travel by plane and car and train. I want to go on a river cruise, just experience different types of travel. But the RV travel experience is really interesting, really exciting, things that I did not expect. This podcast was created to inspire you to travel, whatever mode of travel, whether you go close to home or far away. That is the mission of this podcast, is to inspire you to get out and travel, right? We're going to talk about why that's important. So this is Melodie and Kurt Clayton of RV Plus 3. Go check them out on social media. We'll talk about your social media and where to find you, YouTube. And you've been full-time RVers for 4 years, so a little longer than I was. You travel with your son, Marcus, who is now 14, right?
15 next month.
15 next month. It's hard to keep track. I know he's way taller than me, almost as tall as you now. And he has had some incredible experience as a kid traveling in an RV. So how many states have you been to? Melodie, do you know?
I don't know. I haven't kept track.
Listen, you got to get the board.
I have a board.
That?
I don't know.
You haven't kept track? Do you
Well,
know?
we haven't updated it in a while.
We haven't updated in a while.
Do you have a guess? So why don't you take a guess, and then we'll come back and post on social media what the actual answer should. I
Maybe
guess
18.
18 states. And how about you? What do you think? Think more or less?
I say maybe 20.
20. Okay, so you guys are going to fill the map in,
Okay.
and you're going to let me know, and we'll post that on social
post
media
it.
how many states it was. For Dan and I, we were up to about 28. But there's also, when do you count the state? So we could talk about that in a little bit. National parks, do you know how many? I'm just putting you guys on the spot.
5?
5 national parks.
Yeah, not too many.
Yeah.
Not too many, not your thing.
Well, it's not high on our bucket list right now because our rig is so big we can't fit into national
Right.
parks. That's
Okay.
the big thing about traveling full-time in a 43-foot RV is you have to find parks near the national parks.
Okay, and we're going to talk about some of that because we are going to talk about I say sort of because we're going to talk a little bit about choosing the RV that might be right for you, depending on what you need to do. And what you're saying is with a 43-foot RV, you can't go into the national parks for the most part. So we'll talk about that. Now, I got to say, these guys were instrumental in helping build my last podcast, which was the RV Life podcast. They helped with social media and were the self-proclaimed producers. Truth be told, they did help produce that show. For those of you who don't know, they helped get it into the top 3% of all podcasts worldwide. And our mission was to make sure people were inspired to travel, had the information they needed to go out in RV. And so when Kurt came up with the idea that we were going to do a coffee chat, we were going to sit down with our coffee and chat, I said, okay, he's the producer. He's decided to produce this show. And so here we are. Now, we were going to be outside, but it is a rainy day, as you can see. We are in Circle M Campground, and I'm staying in a cabin, which is a story that I'll talk about another time. Let's jump into it. Kurt, 4 years ago, let's think back to 4 years ago, you said you were sitting around with an infant. Well, before that,
Yeah.
but it was 4 years ago when you convinced Melodie to sell the house and the business and go in an RV. What did that conversation look like? How'd that go?
She had a lot of stipulations, I should say. One of the big ones is financially, how to make it work. I'm a disabled vet, I have the disability income, how much is it going to cost, how are we going to afford doing it, using things like Thousand Trails memberships and buying one right off the bat. We actually bought Coast to Coast as well. Yep. So being able to go places and not break the bank trying to stay, because we're living in it. This isn't a vacation for us, we're actually living full time.
Okay, and so you brought up a number of things, and again, I have a computer in front of me. I just have some brief points, so we're going to be going in many different directions on this. First of all, you talked about being prepared, which I was not. I spent about 3 months and went out and got on the road. I don't recommend that approach because we got out on the road and realized we couldn't afford to be campgrounds, but we are Thousand Trails members. This is a Thousand Trails campground. Talk a little bit about that to help our listeners, one of you, whoever wants to talk, or both of you, on having certain memberships to help with campground costs.
Well, I was the one watching all the YouTubers out there doing it, the big ones, KYD, Less Junk, and Changing Lanes. I watched a lot of YouTube videos before we got started, and actually that kind of what led into also being prepared, and we'll touch on that here in a few. But the Thousand Trails membership, we decided to buy the biggest and best package that they had, the Adventure. Park to park, 6-month reservation window for regular TT, and 90 days for the Encore parks, which is what makes it feasible. Without it, you're going to be dumping 50 at a very minimum to 120 a night in a lot of campgrounds. But the Thousand Trails, they have a lot of good locations near a lot of good areas, and it works. But we also supplemented it with a Coast to Coast, which has a lot of parks up in Michigan, where TT doesn't really have anything.
Right.
So we're able to go in a lot of other areas that aren't just limited to the TT parks.
Okay. And like you guys, I waited 6 months and then bought the Thousand Trails membership, and I always say my biggest mistake was not buying it sooner because the money I wasted. Like you said, trying to find a campground for $40 or $50 a night was difficult at best, but when you think $40 or $50 a night, $50 times 30 nights, that's $1,500 a month. Am I doing my math right? That's a lot of money that we didn't have. So Thousand Trails, I'm just going to say they have changed all of their membership, all of them. And anybody that's interested in hearing more about that, there is a link in the show notes. Sharon and Warren are our membership specialists that can help answer all of your questions. They are people that we know, love, and trust. So we'll go on from there, because memberships are something that, depending on how you're traveling, what kind of travel you want to do, where you want to go, the membership really depends. And I know with the new membership, even if you're doing it part-time, it still pays. Okay, so you got the membership down. Good for you planning that beforehand. Let's talk a little bit. Okay, so now here you are in a house. You sold the house. You had a house, you sold it.
After fully remodeling it for her.
Yeah, of course, right.
So that was another catch, is I just finished helping get the house remodeled. Full paint, new flooring, everything, and it was beautiful. It looked gorgeous.
It was gorgeous.
But the market was there during COVID to sell, and we got way more than we paid for it, and it was kind of one of those things that's like, all right, well, that'll help pay for the truck. Paid for almost $100,000 truck in cash. So that's one less payment we're going to have on the road. The Thousand Trails membership, pay for it in cash, one less payment we have to worry about, just the yearly dues, which aren't bad at all.
Right. And so one of the things to talk about is budgeting. People ask all the time, what's cheaper, what's less expensive, a house or living in an RV? And I always say it depends.
Yeah.
You have a dually and a fifth wheel. It's new. It was new, correct?
Yes.
My husband and I had an old Class A. So it really depends where you're coming from and what kind of rig you're going into, but certainly finances are something to consider, and just know that it's going to cost more than you think it is. You have to factor in repairs that you might not have planned, all of that stuff. And that probably is a whole episode conversation itself. Anybody that wants to hear more about financing, being on the road, and is it less expensive than a house, and how do I figure out finance, we'll come back and do another episode on that. Let us know in the comments so that that's of interest.
That's a long episode.
That's a
alone.
long
Just right
episode
there.
of, probably mapping out if this, then this. You know, if we lived in a house in Las Vegas, it was a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath. The walk-in closet was as big as my RV. Hot tub and a pool. So, you know, that cost a pretty penny being in Las Vegas.
Well, you look at your travels, and I think our first year we did 8,000 miles,
Mm-hmm.
and that was during COVID, and fuel prices were $5 a gallon, so it added up real quick, and we had to reevaluate. All right, how far do we want to go? Where do we want to stay? How long are we going to be there for? Because just in fuel cost alone, it can surprise you out of the blue. But then you run into programs like Open Roads.
Let's talk about that. Okay, so that's another great point. And again, this is not on this list. We are really winging it. We are really having a coffee cup, and I am letting Kurt take some leeway here. But it's a good point, because the next big expense would be your fuel cost. Your dually is a diesel. My RV was a diesel.
10 miles to the gallon.
Yeah. We always lie to ourselves and say it's like 12, but it's really, ours was 7 or 8, but we said 10, just to make us feel better.
And that's just the towing side of it. When you disconnect, you know, for us, you know, we didn't have a tow behind vehicle or, you know, a chase vehicle. In the case of some fifth wheel people, you know, they have a whole separate vehicle just for running around. And we decided against that route, and well, even not towing, I'm only getting 15 if I'm having a good day.
Right, so the dually gets 15. Okay, so let's talk about open roads, because again, this is a consideration whether you're gas or diesel, to have programs that'll, you know, save you money. Open roads is one of those programs. Can you talk a little bit about it? Let you talk about it.
Well, I saw it on a YouTuber's channel. That was one of the things. It's like, I'm a prepared person. I like to be prepared for just about any eventuality, and I overplan. Definitely overplan. Spend way too much time doing it, checking the routes 4 times. Is there any bridges?
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But let's talk about fuel costs and how open roads have saved you money.
It's a free to join program, and you basically get a fleet style discount like the truck drivers get, so you're not paying the pump price. And that can range anywhere from 15 cents all the way to $1 or even more per gallon off.
Right.
And that makes a big difference when you're filling up even my 50-gallon tank. You know, Class A's, they've got, 200-gallon tanks?
It used to cost us $300+ to fill it up, so whatever, I don't even remember how many gallons it was, but it was a lot.
That's a lot.
Okay, I'm going to go back. So a program like Open Roads, there are some other programs out there. Do your research like Kurt has done. What's really nice now is if there's some program out there, I just ask Kurt. I don't have to do my research. I know he's done it, but Open Roads is a great program. I'm also going to add on that Open Roads over the last 2 years has a toll pass for those interstates that you need a toll pass, and it covers all 48 states. That's called Innovative Toll Solutions.
But they have the VIP,
And they have the VIP, which includes, we're going to put all this information in the show notes, but I want to ask you, Melody, he came, we haven't heard from you yet, he came to you, you're off working, he came to you and said,
yeah, he had been talking about it for a while, so it wasn't something new. You know, we watched the videos together, but it was kind of like our son with COVID started being homeschooled. We saw he did so much better. He just didn't do good in school. So, okay, our oldest was going off to the Air Force. And so I was like, well, the prices the houses are really good right now. So I'm like, sell me on it. Break it down for me. I'm not doing this without you breaking it down. And he broke it down. He was like, hey, look, if we did 1,000 trails, that'll save us a lot of nights. And he kind of showed me what normal nights cost versus doing a package like 1,000 trails. I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, they got programs for helping not saving on fuel. Okay, great. And he just broke it down. He showed me a lot of stuff, and I was like, okay.
so from the time you said yes to him
Yeah.
until you sold the house, packed it up. We're going to talk a little bit about downsizing. Again, that's a whole topic in itself, but we're going to talk a little bit about downsizing from the time you said yes till you got the RV and got in and hit the road. How much time was there?
8 months.
Probably, yeah.
Because
we had to finish getting the house fixed up, and then we had to get it sold, and then after that, we were helping our son get off to the Air Force, our oldest CJ. So we were actually, once we sold the house, we were living in our bumper pole. We had a 26-foot Forest River mini light.
Yep.
And we were living in that. So we lived at an RV park for several months. And then we got our oldest off to the Air Force. And then we officially left, not just living in the RV, but actually traveling and living, and went to see him in Texas for his graduation of basic.
Wow. So it gives you another really great part of RVing, whether it's a bumper pull, travel trailer, a van. It gives you that opportunity to go somewhere and stay in a campground, not be in a hotel. Okay.
Well, this was our third RV.
This was our third
Oh,
RV.
okay.
So
You weren't new to it. Okay.
not fully, because as I've gotten older, I was in my 40s. I've got health issues, and tent camping just couldn't do it anymore. I'm like, I need a bed, a place to lay down comfy, and so that's kind of what started us. Is like, all right, we bought a 30-foot before the Rockwood, and it had a bunkhouse, and we took the kids out on the weekends and did some summer trips with it. So we were familiar with RVing, but still newbies by any means. There was mistakes made, and
Mistakes are always going to be made, downright screw ups too.
Yeah.
I could say something else, but we don't want to say that on this podcast.
But-
So do you recommend people maybe rent an RV, maybe come into a campground? So my experience, let's go back a little bit. My experience with camping was, I think I spent maybe 10 nights in a tent. So it was a weekend. I was in a tent. Night one, it not only rained, it poured, torrential downpour with full-on lightning. Middle of the night, of course, I have to go to the bathroom. That was my experience. Night two, thankfully, somebody in the campground had a cabin. They let us stay because I was ready to pack up and go home. That was my experience with tent camping. Now, I did have a lot of great memories, meeting people, community. I loved that part of it, but only saw tent camping or somebody buying an RV as the option. And at that time, the RV wasn't a consideration. My RV experience was 7 nights, 2 different trips in an RV, just going on what was like a vacation. So you guys had some experience. What do you recommend? Do you recommend people try the campground experience? Maybe renting an RV? What are your thoughts?
I think renting an RV would be good if you've never done it, just as a let's get out there and try it, because you don't want to sell everything and you go, oh, I really cannot live in 200 and some odd square feet. I think it'd be good. Try a couple trips, and then if you like it, there you go. Or buy a small bumper pool or something and take it for weekends for a bit. Get your feet in the water. If you really like it, that way you can test a campground. You can test going out on BLM land. Try a few things.
yeah, because we did everything from campgrounds to really off-road camping with the little bumper pool.
Yeah.
When we got the short one, it was like, oh, okay, so we can take this all the way up in the mountains here, and not necessarily wasn't meant for those off-road conditions, which I learned relatively quickly.
Yes, again, know where you can take your RV. It's really important. So, and again, let's talk a little bit about trip planning. You brought up going out to the mountains, BLM land. Let's talk about what that is, the type of, we're going in all kinds of directions, but the type of things when you set out, let's just use you guys as an example. When you set out in the RV, you were headed to Texas because CJ was going in the military, the Air Force. So was that like the first kind of trip? What was the plan? Because you're the planner.
We got to back up a little bit.
Oh,
okay.
There's a small chunk of the story.
Right, yeah.
Okay, let's
that
back
has
up.
been left
You're the
out.
producer here.
No,
So-
Back it up.
Sorry.
Both her and I have had cancer, and we're cancer survivors. We've gotten through it, and during that time period as well, my mother had health issues and concerns that popped up, and it was we only got to see them once a year. They'd have to fly all the way out to Arizona where we were, and when her health deteriorated, she couldn't fly anymore. So one of the trips was we took the little bumper pull before we decided to do a full house sale. And then we were headed, we took it and visited them in Missouri, where they're from, and visited her family that has a place up in Iowa. And that was one of the kickoffs, is being able to go and visit family.
Yep.
It was a lot harder to do in the house, and it's like, okay, we can see you for a week or maybe 2 weeks if we're lucky, for one every year. And so it's like, well, we can work from the road, we can do different things and travel and see. And we got to go see my mom before she passed, and that was one of the kickers, that when we were on that same trip is when we jumped to the 43-foot fifth wheel. I'd already had the bumper pull, and we were going through Texas, and we found a rig that we'd looked at for years and checked out the different model years and everything, and finally was able to make a deal on it.
Yep.
We got that back to, and my mom passed during that time period of us getting the house sold. So it was kind of heartbreaking in that respect, that
Yeah.
I lost my mom before I could go out and do more visits to her.
Right.
And that just goes to show life is short. You don't know what's going to happen. Do you want to wait?
Right.
Yep.
And this is the big reason for the podcast, because that has been the inspiration, is that life is short and you don't know. You hear about people that retire at 65 or 72, whatever it is now, and 6 months later they pass away. People
Yep.
who know my story know that Dan became ill a year and a half ago and is now in full-time nursing care. Didn't see that coming. So go out and do the things. Now, caution, because it does not mean you should sell everything. It does not mean you should, get off of this episode and convince your spouse to go full-time in an RV. But it does mean to sit down and really think about what you want to do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the trips. You wanted to visit family. That was a big thing for you. It was a big deal for me. When it came to planning, when it came to trip planning, you kind of, in the first year, you said you did 8,000 miles. That's relatively slow for RVers, full-time RVers, right? Is that relatively slow?
Well,
Fast?
kind of fast.
Fast-ish,
I mean, we
yeah.
were moving,
I don't know my miles.
we were
Okay.
moving quite a bit, and only staying in a place for a week or 2 weeks at a time.
Okay.
Because when we got the big RV, and our oldest boy at that time was literally heading off to basic training, and we were finishing everything up, the business sale and everything. It's like, okay, well, we hit the road. I even forgot we had the 1,000 Trails membership. We pulled into a rest stop in nowhere, Texas, and I'm like, where are we going to stay tonight? And I'm
So
like,
the planner didn't plan that one.
not the first trip. I was like, let's get to San Antonio and
Yeah.
get there so we could be there for his graduation. And I didn't even think about, how busy campgrounds in the San Antonio area was going to be. And it's like, okay, wait, there's a TT park near there. We can drive in. And we stayed there for a few, but when he actually had his graduation, we picked up a park near, SeaWorld down there? Yeah.
Somewhere near
Yeah.
SeaWorld.
And was able to bring him back to the RV, get him off base for a little bit, because he still had to do his primary training after that. That was just basic.
Right.
And after that, it's like, all right, I wanted to make his basic training. That was the important one to me, because I'd been through it myself. I'm ex-military.
Right.
So I know how nice it is to have family show up at your graduation there.
Right. And so, again, planning is all great. We've all done it where we're like, oh, something fell through, something didn't work. As much planning as you could do, but also, even within the planning, there's sometimes those things that come up that are fun, exciting, didn't expect it. I had that happen all the time with me. We set out, so we spent a month 15 miles from the house that we were in. I wanted to get the RV set up. I just wanted time, and we spent a month in Lake Mead. And then we had this whole plan for 2 or 3 months. Like, oh, I have to plan this. I was not a spontaneous person.
Yeah.
So the idea of RVing, great, but we're going to plan things. We're going to schedule this. I'm going to have, campgrounds reserved. That went out the window very quickly. And now I'm much better at flying by the seat of my pants now. But we had this plan of where we were going to go. The day before we were taking off, somebody called us that we were friendly with and said, there's a Model T Ford rally, and if you get here in 2 days instead of 4 days, you could join us in that rally. And Dan was like, oh yeah, we got to do this. So everything from there changed.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I knew planning was great, but being flexible. Go ahead, you want to say something?
We plan a lot of our stuff out really far out, but we're always open to change. Last year, we were supposed to be going to Louisiana. Never been. Let's go Texas to Louisiana. We want to go do Mardi Gras. Check it out. Well, then we found out that they were going to have a lunar eclipse, and one of the best places. Solar eclipse. Yes, thank you. Solar eclipse. One of the best places to see it was in Texas, and we had a bunch of friends staying at 1,000 Trails Campground. So we're like, okay, well, let's detour.
We canceled Louisiana, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yep.
Because we were going to go up and back to Missouri and visit my dad afterwards, and we wound up just extending and staying in Texas for the entire eclipse.
But the nice thing is also we made new friends that we're still really good friends with. So it's just funny how
things work out.
How things work out.
Yeah, and again, for those people, planning is a good idea. Having an idea of where you want to go, what you want to do. I always recommend that whoever is traveling, so whether it's couple, whether you're solo, whether you have a kid or kids with you, kind of sit down and, what are the types of things you want to do and see. Great to have that, great to have the list and be flexible of things that come up. So planning's a great idea. Being flexible, good. Let's talk about community. And it's one of the reasons I love being in campgrounds. And even though I don't have the RV anymore, I stay in cabins. I've stayed in a yurt. I've stayed in a retro RV. I'm planning on renting an RV because I do want to stay in a fifth wheel. So I can rent one. They'll bring it to the site. They'll set it up. Actually, just talking to somebody from the company, it's called Fireside RV Rental. Yeah. They'll bring it out, do everything you need. I don't know if they set up the tanks. I would imagine they do the black and gray tanks because a lot of people don't know how to.
I hope so.
If they're going to bring it out,
I'll have to check that. I would imagine they set it all up. So you have that experience. It's also a good way to decide which RV might work for you and your family or whoever you're with. Okay.
Well, your first RV isn't your last.
Your first RV is usually not your last. That's usually the case.
We've even looked at changing after 4 years, maybe to a toy haul or something different, But it's kind of like, well, we spent 4 years fixing up the rig and getting it to exactly what we want. It's like, do we want to switch?
Except now you have a kid that's over 6 foot.
No, not yet, but he will be.
He's going to be. I look up to him. And he's 14, almost 15.
That was part of our planning is I crawled up in the bunk room where he could sleep. And if I could fit, I knew he could. So I'm at 6'4", 6'5".
So it's bigger than I think it is.
It's long.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's long. It could fit probably someone 6'6".
Yeah.
Okay, just so people know what we're talking about, in a fifth wheel, and you could Google pictures, or I'll come over and just take some pictures. When you walk into the fifth wheel, you're in the kitchen, living room area. What's nice about a fifth wheel is it does feel more like a living space, where the Class A, you're in it does feel more like an RV, depending on the kind of Class A you have. But then you go up steps, and there's steps to a loft where Marcus's bedroom is.
So, yeah.
There's no windows. It's just this little cave-like area that he likes. So you have to figure out what your kid likes. Okay, so let's talk about the campground. What's great about being in a campground? Why a campground? Why didn't you travel in some other way? I'll let you take it.
Well, I mean, we like the campgrounds because usually there's lots of kids. Marcus we'll find friends usually.
Full-time families on the road.
You look for little signs as full-time families on the side. You'll say, oh, okay, they most likely have kids. And, he'll find someone to play with. That's the nice thing about RV kids. They are very open to other kids, and they're like, hi, and then they go play. I like campgrounds. I don't know. I just like because you meet a lot of people that you see, especially 1,000 Trails. You see a lot of the same people over and over. It's nice because you can meet up with friends. But there's lots of really nice campgrounds.
You like full hookups.
I like full hookups. Okay.
She's not a boondocker.
All right, so let's talk about a couple things. First of all, Full-Time Families is a group for people who are full-time with their families. Mm-hmm. They do events together and get together, and you could just Google Full-Time Families. I'll put it in the show notes for you. But that is a great group with kids. And you said one of the things you like is there are a lot of kids. I've traveled, and once in a while have had a grandkid with. So I don't have kids, and I can go off and do my thing. There's usually something for everyone. What else besides, now she's saying full hookups. For those of you who haven't RV'd yet, that means that you have sewer, so your black and gray tanks are going into the sewer. You don't have to worry about your tanks filling up. You have water and you have electric, and that could be 30 or 50 amp electric, depending on what your RV needs. So just a very basic, I'm sure I missed a lot of things on that, but to give people basic. So you like the idea of full hookups. I stayed with them a couple weeks ago, and when I went to get in the shower, I had to think about, I could actually take a real shower because they were on full hookup. If you're not on full hookup, so you're using your tank water, and your tanks is where the holding tank is where your water goes from the shower, then you have to take quicker showers. So I know I can take a good shower. So thanks for letting me stay. That's the nice thing about the fifth wheel too, because there's a pull-out couch. I was nice and comfy. I was served coffee in the morning. We love our coffee.
Yes,
it was great. Coffee. So, maybe find a friend who has an RV that you could just go hang out with. Okay. What else about the campground experience as opposed to, you've been to resort type places like hotels that are resorts that have some amenities. What makes a campground experience more appealing for you guys?
I got just a quick one.
Go.
Wherever I go, I have my bed with me. I hate hotel beds. I've maybe been in one hotel in my entire life that had a good bed in it.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a big one for me.
And you have all your stuff.
Yes, you have all your stuff with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But campgrounds can offer, like here at Circle M, they have activities every weekend. There are things going on. You could participate or not. They have a pool. They have a indoor pool and a hot tub. Yeah. They have a mini golf that people love. They rave about. They have the campground, the playground for kids. They have trails. They have actually a river, and I said it right this time. I always called it a lake, but a river that runs around the place. And you put your tube in, and you could spend an hour or 2 hours floating around when it's warm. And those are things that you're here, you meet people. You could walk outside the RV and somebody walk by and have an hour conversation and you've met your new best friend, right? I know you love that.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love meeting new people.
Well, being able to cook at home, not having to go to restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some draw to, hotel travel and other, even cruise ships and things like that. And I can see it for, a weekend. You're going out, special place, they don't have RV campgrounds near some of them. But for all, it's having your home with you.
Yeah.
Everything that you need.
It's a very different experience that it's hard to explain if you've never done it. Yeah, it's very different.
I feel like every campground is different with what they offer. So you can pick one. If you pick one in the mountains, they offer certain things. You can pick one by the beach. I just like that you can, depending on what you're in the mood for, that's what you can book. There's some right on the beach. There's some beautiful places in the mountains. One of our favorites is Shenandoah Crossing in Virginia.
Yep.
And I love it. They have horses there, lots of horses. So if you have kids or if you're an adult and you want to ride, you can go ride. Mm-hmm. They have a beautiful lake there, so you can walk. They even have hotels. So let's say you're in the RV, but your family wants to stay in the hotel. They have a hotel on site, or it's a resort. So,
right.
So I don't know. There's just so many great campgrounds. I do like boondocking once in a while, but our tanks aren't that big, so we can't go that long. So I think that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what boondocking is really quick. Do you want to take that just quick for people who have no idea what we're talking about?
Boondocking's filling up the freshwater tank with some water and going out to a place that has no hookups, no electric, no sewer, no water.
And emptying your gray and black tanks so that they are empty for the trip. And then, so when I first started out and I stayed at Lake Mead, I didn't know anything. So if you get nothing out of this, do your research. There are a lot of, Google it, Chat GPT it. I don't care what you do. Listen to YouTubers. You do a lot of things on social media. Like, pick your people, do your research. So we're going to Lake Mead. No big deal. It was boondocking for a month.
That's a lot. That's a long time to boondock.
We had to pack up the whole RV and take it up to the dump station, fill the water, and dump every 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So I lived through that. Anything after that was, resort living when I could pull in, take a and you took quick showers. You turn the water off in between soaping and
Military
rinsing.
shower.
Yeah,
Yep.
you put the bucket in the sink when you were washing dishes, so you can't always do that, pour it outside. There's some places at Lake Mead you weren't supposed to
Yeah.
do that. I was watering the trees. So there were ways around things. But yeah, you have to think about those things when you're traveling. You have to think about those things. We'll go back to, let's talk a little bit about types of RVs. We've covered Class A's. They're the big bus-like
Drivables.
RVs. What is it?
In the drivable category.
Drivable category. And then you have B, Class B. I'm going
Camper
through
van.
the alphabet. Camper vans. And you have C's, which are bigger.
Smaller than a Class A, but bigger than a van.
Okay.
And there's
some
the
of them
Super
are
Cs.
Super C's,
Yep, the
which
nice.
I found out why people buy Super C's, because they're just bigger, they're heavier, they're more expensive, they tend to be, but they're for people who have bigger loads, like they're either pulling something that's heavier.
Yep.
So you can pull
A full-size pickup.
a full-size pickup. Okay, there you go. So it just depends on what you're doing with it. And then we move into the towables. Let you take those because they're out of my
Oh, there's a lot of towables.
So you have the
Pop-ups.
travel
Mhm.
trailers.
Well,
Everybody jump
Let's
in.
go little to big.
Yeah.
Pop-ups.
Pop-ups.
Again, he's producing the show. We're going little to big. Pop-ups.
Teardrops.
Teardrops, yeah.
Then your regular bumper pole / travel trailers.
Mhm.
Then you get your big fifth wheels. Then you got the toy haulers. And then you can even go all the way into like the luxe category if you've got a couple $100,000 to blow.
Or more.
Yeah, or more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the toy hauler is a fifth wheel. Some Class A's have a toy hauler,
Garage.
which it's like a garage. So you could park something in there, motorcycles,
Golf
small
cart.
car, golf carts, all kinds of things. So these are the basics for types of RVs, and we might have missed some. I don't know, you're pretty thorough, so I'm not sure you did. Sorry, but
There's a
they're
lot. So
different. There are a lot
sorry if
out
we
there.
missed something.
Oh, yeah.
But it's planning what will work for you and your family, how you want to travel, like where you want to go. So you mentioned national parks, of which you've been to 4 or 5, you said, which I would have thought you would have been to a lot of them. Number of national parks I've been to, 0. So you're way ahead of me.
Well, we just did the one up in Acadia.
Acadia National Park.
Absolutely
That was
gorgeous.
up in Maine, our first trip to Maine in 4 years.
Okay.
Didn't do everything there, and that's the great thing. I want to go back, find more to do.
We did Shenandoah National Park.
Yep, Shenandoah.
We did.
So maybe again, you'll count them, you'll let us know, we'll
Yeah,
post it on social
I have a
media.
book.
Okay.
They have books, so you can get stamps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put
Yep,
stamps
yep.
in. When we did the Cape up in Cape Cod, I thought we did.
Was that a national park?
I thought it was National
Something.
Shore or something. So we've been to a few, but we're not just going hunting for national parks. Some people
Right.
they're going to knock it off their list. We just hit them if we're in the area and they're we're like, oh, that looks cool to do. We'll go.
Well, there's some
Oh,
national
right.
parks that are great, and others that you're like, it doesn't interest me that much.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is I think when you're planning what kinds of things, we talked about it a little bit, what kinds of things. Now, do you guys, I guess you talk to Marcus, so the 3 of you kind of get an idea of what kinds of things you want to do, where you want to go. How do you figure that all out?
Well, part of this
Sure.
homeschooling is like going to see things like Gettysburg, Valley Forge, Washington, D.C., all the forts and lighthouses and so many things. It's part of his homeschooling. Instead of reading about in a book, he actually gets to go out there and experience it firsthand and see it.
That's cool. Yeah.
So it's a completely different education.
And that's the other thing. So now you have kids, homeschooling, that's a whole nother conversation. So let's talk about that a little bit. When it comes to homeschooling, you don't have to know it all, the 2 of you. And I try and tell people this all the time. I was a teacher for 20 years. I taught science. If you ask me to try and teach even algebra level, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not, I can't even help my kid with it, let alone teach it. But you guys, Marcus uses an online program, right? That
Yeah.
you recommend. What, do you know the name of it? You want to share it?
We have the time for learning. So, because he just got into high school, they upped it, they changed it a little, and so it's definitely more for older kids. And so it's good because it's transitioning him into, hey, you've got to write more, you've got to think more, and I really like it. But it's nice because they have you need to get this, this, and this, and this done today. And when he gets done, he's like, I'm done. Do you want me to do more, or do you want me to call it done? So typically 3 or 4 hours, he gets school knocked out, and then he can do whatever for the rest of the day. Or if we've got things to do, he can go with us. And so it's nice. He's not wasting time just sitting in the classroom, repeating things over and over and over. He can just get it done, and then let's go do other things.
And I think one of the nice things, and again, I was a teacher for 20 years, he could work at his own pace. He could do his own thing. You're encouraging, the things that he could go see and actually be there. I'm from Philadelphia, so people going down to Independence Hall and seeing the Liberty Bell instead of just reading something out of a book. Different programs are going to be helpful for different kids. Every kid is different. I have 3 kids, and they are totally different. So finding what would work for you. There are tons of programs out there, right?
There are tons. Yeah, I think it just depends on how your kid learns. Our oldest would have never been able to do homeschooling. He would have never made it. And our youngest is opposite. He does great with it. So I would just say ask other parents. I mean, you'll hear so many. You have a group of moms sitting there, and they'll all have different things of how they teach their kids. Some do half books, half online. Some are use this curriculum, this curriculum, this curriculum. And some are just strict, hey, I just use this one. So you hear so many different ways to do it, which is nice. And depending on, where you're located out of, they'll, what state you're residing in, they'll say, hey, you're going to teach this, this, and this, but the rest is up to you.
Right. Okay. And that's another thing is do your research on the state that you reside in and what their requirements are for homeschooling.
Yes.
As full-timers, a lot of the questions that come up that I guess at some other time we could cover is, my address. How do you plan an address? We use a program called Escapees. I think you use the same.
No, we use...
Right now we're in South Dakota, but we're going to switch our residency to Florida.
But is it Escapees you go through a different
program, Dakota Post.
Oh, okay, so within your state. So what we're talking about is to get your mail if you are on the road full time, to get your mail and your residency. There are companies, some states do it. For me, we use a company called Escapees. There are different ones. There's a lot of information out there about them. You could go into a group and ask about them. Different people like different ones for various reasons. Trip planning, we talked about there are a number of different trip planning programs.
Yes.
And again, finding the one that works for you to map out the trip. Safety, and I'm going through a couple things quickly as we wrap up our time, but safety. So RV Safe GPS, you got a big truck. This is a pet peeve of mine. I hate to call things out. We're on Facebook. Somebody has just bought a $300,000 plus Class A and wants to know what a free GPS is. We're talking about safety on roads. Like, I'm driving this little car. It's out here, so I'm pointing, but I could go anywhere pretty much. You've got a dually. Even in the dually.
Well, it's not the dually, it's the height and the length and the weight. So some of those Class A's are 50,000 pounds. They're as much as a semi. I'm tall as a semi at 13 feet, 5 inches.
So we are going to say, make sure you have an RV Safe GPS. Now that could be an online program. There are a bunch of programs. It could be, what are the Garmin, trucker maps. Don't just use Waze.
Yeah.
Don't just Google it. Don't use Google Maps. I'm on this kick because we have heard of and seen too many people that have caused an accident, that's created a problem for other people. Coming here, there was a bridge that was 9 foot 10 inches because it was a covered bridge. It was really cool, but you're not going anywhere near that. And if he said, okay, well, I Google mapped it and it took him there, he gets stuck. You would not be able to turn around. Now you got the police coming out. You're blocking traffic in both directions. Obviously, RV Safe GPS is really important for all of us. Yes. We've seen too many people make some mistakes. What are some other, let's talk a little bit about a couple of your favorite places, some hidden gems. We're going to start wrapping up. We still have a lot more information, but as we start to think about wrapping up, and anything that's left. We really want the listeners, you guys, reach out to them. We're going to talk, how do they reach out to you? Let's just say it now.
Oh, how they reach out?
How could they reach out with questions?
Oh, with questions? They can email us at RV3, Go ahead.
Well, Facebook, Instagram, RV+3,
Yes.
YouTube, TikTok, we have it all.
We're going to put it all in the show
Yeah,
notes.
we'll put it in
So
the show
if you want to
notes.
reach out, you have questions about homeschooling,
Yeah.
traveling with a child on the road, fifth wheels, reach out to them. Certainly like their channels if it resonates with you. We're going to talk a little bit about really cool places that people don't often expect, because you have the big ticket items, the big things that everybody's talking about, but some of the hidden gems or experiences that you didn't expect. So,
Oh.
wow, I know.
There's the problem.
That's
I'm putting you on the spot because they often go to these hidden, I'm
Yeah.
letting them think. So they often do the cool places, the hidden gem, the experience.
I feel like there's many. Of course, you know, you have Key West, love Key West. But then you have places like the Upper Peninsula in Michigan.
Oh yeah, the UP was
The UP is
beautiful.
gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, heavily wooded, very pretty.
Petoskey.
Petoskey State Park, they have a beach there, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's super fine sand, and you can go out, I mean, really far, up to waist deep. It's clear water, absolutely gorgeous.
Only during the dead of summer.
Yeah, only during the dead of summer.
Yes.
They have a lot of wineries up in Traverse City. That's just really, they got New Holland down in that area. Or New Holland's a little further south, but they have the Tulips, the
Oh,
Tulip
yeah.
Festival, and they have an old windmill.
Windmill.
That's
The Holland style windmill.
Yeah.
Wow.
That you can go see, which is a lot of fun. And then you have places like we went to Acadia.
Yeah.
And, you know, in Maine, in Bar Harbor, they have so many. You can find so many pretty lighthouses. Just what him and I would do is we'd lay out the map, and you could like, let's go around the outside of this island here, and we just drive. And then, okay, let's go to this island, or let's take this road that goes through all these islands and see how far we go. And we just go exploring. And we found this cute little town called Stonington, and it's tiny,
That's a hidden gem.
but it's a hidden gem. It's cute. We found a parking spot. We had to drive through and back, but with it, we saw lobster boat races there, and the locals were having. They had
A festival.
a festival, food trucks, and the locals were all super friendly. You know, the Coast Guard came in, and it was a lot of fun, and they had boats everywhere. So it's like what you picture for me.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. And that's a good place to start our wrap up, because a lot of people think of traveling in an RV and sometimes they think of the big places, the national parks. Like I said, I've gone to 0. I was across the country 3.5 times over 3 years. The only reason we didn't go to a national park is because we found these cool little places that most people didn't know of. So as you're planning, sure, if you want to go to Yellowstone National Park, put it on your list of places you want to go. But also, I love your idea of going into an area, just driving around, but really being there and being present and see what's there. Because I passed by sunflower fields where there's sunflowers as far as the eye could see, which is an amazing view. Put your phone down. Even though we're content creators, sometimes you gotta put your phone down.
That's hard
Be
sometimes.
there, be present. You know, Google it. Watch some YouTube videos of people who talk about hidden gems. I actually did an episode a couple weeks ago at the Hershey Show introducing people what are their hidden gems.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a part 2 probably in a week or so after this. I don't know when my episodes are going out, but there's also a hidden gems part 2. Ask people, talk to people, you get information when you're in campgrounds. You know, go talk to locals, go to the, visitor centers. They're full of information. The goal here is to get out and really enjoy. Don't just go one place to another and you're planning the next place while you're at this one, right? Okay. As we wrap up, what is one tip that you would give people?
One tip.
What's something you would encourage people? I know, I put people on the spot, so now I have to talk while they're thinking.
I would say don't let fear stop you in the end. Because I look back, I was really afraid of it, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't go back. I couldn't imagine now, and everybody's different, but I couldn't imagine just sitting in a house. Because you know when you're there, you think everything's so huge, or my state's so big, and then you start traveling, and you're like, no, it's not. And then people are like, what's the most beautiful place? You're like, I don't know, there's so many different beautiful places. So I just couldn't imagine going back.
That's actually a great, incredible tip. Again, if you got nothing else out of this podcast episode, that's it. Don't let fear hold you back. Do you have something?
No.
Or should we just leave? That was
Well,
perfect.
that was perfect.
She spoke for all of us. That was perfect. I want to thank you both for
Thank you.
taking the time to go all the way from deep down here, the whole, 2 blocks to come visit me and talk. It was great hanging out with you guys this week. Thank you so much. And again, you can reach them at RV+3 on most social media channels, YouTube. I'm going to put it in the show notes so you don't have to think about it. You can reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now I'm doing a little bit, YouTube, obviously any podcast platform. We want to hear from you. What are the questions you still have? Questions we can help answer. Episode ideas, please let us know. Thank you for being here and listening. And I want to remind you, travel isn't just about where you go, it's how you live. And I'm encouraging you to live life to the fullest every day.